as a film lover, as a cinema lover, as a moving pictures lover, whatever you want to call films, as a cinephile, the worst name ever, so close to pedophile, but apparently what us film goers have called ourselves. We are cinephiles. Someone who likes a movie a little bit too much. As someone who likes the movie a bit too much, often I have conversations with other people who are cinephiles. I've said cinephiles 3 times too many today, ever. I hate that word. So when I'm chatting to a fellow cinephile, there I go again, often the discussion of classic films comes up, and often they're like, have you seen this? Have you seen that? And I'm like, no, I haven't seen those classic films because I was too busy watching Lord of the Rings for the 503rd time. And then I'll talk to them again a month later, and I'll be like, I actually haven't seen that classic film or that classic film either. I was busy watching Lord of the Rings for the 556th time. Before this rambling slash tangent slash whatever the hell this intro is bores you to death, what I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to get to is, I should have seen this movie but I hadn't, so I watched The Karate Kid. I watched The Karate Kid for the first time, and shocker, it's good. It's a film that even before I seen it, I felt like I had seen it. Even though when I watched it, I was surprised by how much was interesting and new to me. But I knew so much about it. So much of it is iconic. Mr. Miyagi, Daniel-san, the whole kind of training master and apprentice kind of, you know, karate thing of it all. There's a karate tournament at the end. He does a kick thing. I can't do it because I'm sitting. He does the kick thing, you know, to end it. I've seen that on TikTok or YouTube or whatever. I've seen that little scene at the end. There is just so many kind of aspects and parts of it that I feel like I know, like the whole training where it's like, the amount of parodies I've seen of this film without even kind of fully realizing, like when he starts training, it's like, this is just chores. I'm not even training to be a karate master. And I'm like, I've seen this maybe 50 times just in everything, and I was like, I know exactly what's gonna happen, but it was still so satisfying and emotional and powerful when it did happen, like that moment where he's like, wax on, wax off, and he's just like, wah, 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 just, oh, so awesome, so cool. But then it's also crazy to think like there are parts of it that I thought were from this that weren't. Like I always thought there was a phrase that went something like, bite like a cobra, sting like a bee, or something like that. Something with a cobra because of Cobra Kai. But then at the end of the movie, I was like, the line didn't happen. The sting like a cobra, sting like a bee, fly like a bee, or whatever it is. The phrase, the classic Karate Kid phrase, is that in the second one? It's surely not in the third one. So I'm Googling like deleted scene Karate Kid. No deleted scene that I could find with the line. But then it came up with all this stuff from Muhammad Ali. And I'm like, oh, it's fly like a butterfly, sting like a bee. It's not from this movie. Forever, I've just thought that was something Mr. Miyagi said. But he's just a wax on, wax off guy. Crazy. I just love the start as well, where it's just like this teen romance, and he's like the bully and the jock and the nerd's trying to escape, and there's just all this really classic 80s stuff. It's campy, it's cheesy, and then suddenly there's this moment where it just becomes this training movie, and it delves right into the whole sensei and apprentice kind of thing going on. But what I found really interesting that I had no idea about is that it's more of like a surrogate father and son kind of situation, which I found really compelling. I love the little moment we get of Mr. Miyagi when he's just absolutely smashed, and we get a little bit of his backstory. Just rounds him out as a character so beautifully. It's very, very funny. It's just emotionally satisfying. Like when it gets to the end and you get that shot of Mr. Miyagi, he's like, we did it. You're just like, yes, he won. I knew he was going to win, but it's still so satisfying when he wins. It's just a really, really great film. It's one of those films where you're watching like, yes, this is why it's a classic. This is why every single cinephile that I've met is like, you haven't seen Karate Kid? You should watch Karate Kid. You're going to really enjoy Karate Kid. I enjoyed Karate Kid. An amazing movie. Really, really loved it. It's just so good. The characters are all so great. Daniel is awesome. At first I was like, oh, he's a bit over the top, and like this one bit where it's like, Mom, why can't we just leave? I hate it here. I hate being bullied. And I'm like, okay. Oh, maybe this film isn't going to hold up. And then just like something turned in the film, just started working on every single level. And there's some really interesting things at play, especially towards right at the end with the villain, Johnny, and the way that he kind of isn't painted as the villain right at the end, and it's more that his master, his sensei, is the villain. And I found that really, really compelling, knowing that he was a character in Cobra Kai. First thing I thought when this film started was, that kid looks young. That kid looks super young. Daniel looks really young. How old is he? How old is the Karate Kid? And I Google it, and I'm just like, oh, he's 60 now. And if he's 60 now, then that... And I'm trying to do the math. I'm like, no. My math must be wrong, because he can't be that old. Do a bit of investigating on the Wikipedias, on the Googs. Just doing the cheeky Googs, figuring it all out. So he's 22 in this movie, which can't be true. I was like, it can't be true. He cannot have been 22 while shooting this film. He looks 13 to 15, maybe 16 at best. But no, apparently Daniel in this movie, the actor who plays Daniel, is 22 years old, which cannot be true. He's a little baby boy. He looks like a little baby boy who's never shaved in his life. And then apparently the only teenager in the child cast of The Karate Kid is Johnny, the bully who looks 22, but apparently is only 18. I don't know. I don't understand what's going on. Usually in an American movie, they're all 25 to 30. And I can clearly gauge that by looking at them and being like, why are there all these adults in this teenage high school? I went to high school, and when I was in high school, I'm in high school. No one looks like this. Why are there so many adults in American high school? Why are they so big? What are they eating? Is that the Super Size Me situation going on? Like, what is happening? But apparently this film is just the opposite, where everyone looks the opposite age that they are. And I couldn't get past it. For most of the film, all I kept thinking is, he cannot be 22. He cannot be 22. Did this film get filmed like 3 years earlier and it was delayed in post-production for some reason? But I know that's not the case because I just know, I Googled it. He was 22, but he's a little baby boy. He's never shaved. I have other thoughts about the film, but honestly, this is the thing that I just can't get past. One of the main things that really struck me about The Karate Kid is just kind of how beautiful it is. How kind of like heartwarming and sincere and beautiful and touching it is in really simple, elegant ways. Like the bonsai tree scene where he shows him how to cut the bonsai. It's just really nice. It's really simple. It's not trying to do too much, and it just kind of is in this really beautiful way, and it just feels really sincere, but not in that kind of cheesy, corny way where I'm like, oh, like there is cheesy, corny moments, but there's a lot of like that high school kind of bully stuff where it's almost a bit too much. Where you're like, this is a bit extreme. The way they're all acting, the way everyone's talking and stuff feels a bit cheesy and corny, but the sincere moments feel really pure in this really beautiful way. I also found the romance between Daniel and our lead girl, Ellie. One of those. I should have remembered. I just watched it. It's one of those. She's fantastic. Daniel's fantastic. Their chemistry is really, really good. There's something really like charming about them both. I find Daniel really, really good in the romance scenes. Like at first, he's complaining about being like, I was like, oh, I'm being bullied. Oh, I want to go home. And he's like hitting the wall, and his mom's like, let's just go inside. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if this actor's going to do it for me. But as soon as he starts hitting on her, and as soon as he starts kind of trying to charm her, and then get angry that she doesn't like that he's poor and she's rich and all these things, I just found that really compelling. I found that really sincere and beautiful and charming and just really nice. And I'm just like, damn, man, this 80s film is doing everything a great 80s film does, whereas it's hard on its sleeve, but it's also corny and cheesy. The action's really spectacular and violent and shocking in a way. All these kids are just wailing on each other, and it's really awesome. It really is like just a perfect film. There is so much it does right. I really can't floor it for anything. Like nothing stands out as being like, oh, well, even for the time, I don't know, this and that. It's just everything works so well. The pacing is really good. It's really interesting how the action, like there's a lot of stuff up front, and then the bullies and him just go, all right, truce, training for 50 minutes, then karate tournaments. And it's just training. And that is when the film sings. Like the film has been singing. I was trying to think of a singer that's good but not great, but then the film was singing, and I was going to say that singer that's now really great. And I just kept thinking Dua Lipa, and I'm like, but she's always just great. And I couldn't think of someone else. I listen to music. It's just not coming to mind right now. I swear I listen to other music.